Hello, beautiful ones. Welcome back to Lysa Black's channel. I am a healer and a mentor for healers, coaches, those in the natural healthcare industries. I love people who help people, and I truly believe that it's the heart transmissions that come through embodied leaders who are living, breathing, and owning their sacred medicine that we are truly going to change this world. So this is what I dedicate my life to, and I want to define trauma because a lot of people talk about trauma in a way that I think we presuppose what it is, and I want to define it, and I want to explain the real reason why it's so incredibly beneficial to acknowledge our trauma and receive support to be able to move through it to gain greater light and consciousness. So welcome back to my channel. If you've watched I Love to Speak from the Heart, I don't plan and organize anything to say. I know that there's a major point I want to make. And because we all have different traumatic experiences, the connotations of the word trauma draw up different experiences for us. And because all of them are based on pain, trauma is something that is essentially difficult for any human to witness. One of the major motivations that I see in my tribe for why we want to face trauma is that we cannot respond to reality when we have submerged, suppressed, denied, and unacknowledged experiences from our past. And what happens is when we find ourselves acting in life without conscious awareness, we can end up making decisions that come back to create even more pain. So often this is the real motivation. People who don't want to pass trauma on to their children, people who are witnessing unconscious patterns or shadow compulsive patterns, people who recognize that they aren't safe to really trust themselves because under certain conditions they behave in a way that's not in alignment with their truth. So I define trauma as any experience that you can't hold in your awareness. Now remember, some of the trauma that we've faced was influenced by the emotional responses of the people around us. So not only were our own emotional responses overwhelming and difficult for us to process and be with at the time, but it was actually the emotional experiences of those around us that complicate and kind of add additional weight and bearing down upon our own emotional experience. There are so many things that happen to us in life that don't make any sense. Things that happen that are confusing and disorientating and scary. We all feel afraid when something's happening and we don't know what it is. So imagine how many times in our life we're encountering a new experience. Death, accidents, separation, divorce, arguments. There are so many different cataclysmic activities that unfold in our lives that we don't have the necessary emotional support and comfort to be able to honestly, authentically process. And for me, I had so many experiences from my past that I couldn't process. And what that ended up kind of culminating into for me as a 24-year-old was a series of breakups that reminded me of the same pain I felt when my dad used to leave my mum after a big argument. My parents separated quite a lot in my lifetime, under 18, along beside them. And when dad would leave, mum would be left in a destitute, despairing state, and my sisters would be distraught, and that would put me in a certain position where I felt obligated to fulfill a certain function or role. So this was my first experience of trauma that, a guy I was dating broke up with me, and I didn't care that much about him, but when he broke up with me, it devastated me in a way that reminded me of my past pain, and that all of that past pain had been unacknowledged. It was in shadow. It was out of my conscious awareness. And so the pain was actually a wake-up call to really get present to the truth of what had unfolded in my past and help me to process that in a way that I could hold myself in compassion. What I was able to do was act almost like an angel, reviewing and looking back over some of my past complicated experiences and witnessing them in the truth. being able to see that what I was feeling was appropriate, was natural, was normal, that the way that I responded was completely normal for someone who had never been in that situation before. And being able to go back and extend so much love and compassion to who I once was literally allowed that part of myself in the present. I hope you're following this. I hope this isn't sounding too crazy at this point. Was able to feel like somebody knew what she went through. And this is what unlocks trauma. It's witnessing, it's support, it's having the emotional safety to know that you can feel and experience whatever it is that's unfolding in your internal world at that time. The reason why I'm telling you this is that trauma is very difficult to process, because if no one was with you at the time of this cataclysmic activity, that past event in your life, it's very, very difficult to review that for yourself. Now, I'm very fortunate that for me, I had good friends around me, but there were still things that I wasn't able to process for myself without a professional, without that guidance and help. And I've since hired many keen, you know, very wise mentors, coaches, and guides who could help me to address a trauma that I wasn't ready to look at on my own. It's very important that you allow yourself to be held in love, to be held in safety, and to entrust yourself to someone that you know you can feel safe with. Whatever modality they're using or whatever professional experience they have, just make sure that you align with their beliefs and that you really feel safe in their company. I'm so grateful that we are able to return to pivotal events and actually review them and renew them, being able to reinstill the truth of what happened at that time. I'm so fortunate that I've been blessed to have so many loving, kind people show up into my life. I now perform this function for my clients, even though they are very high-performing professionals, they are business owners, they are industry leaders, and they are able to confide in me, and I can perform that sacred role for them, to stand by them and actually hold them in so much love and compassion and guide them step by step so that it's not overwhelming for them to be able to review what happened and bring it back into the light of consciousness. As we're able to do this, we are able to open up our awareness. We are able to become more fluid, flexible, and responsive to the current conditions in life. We are able to reclaim sacred parts of our truth that allow us to be more authentic in this life and thus attract love, abundance, prosperity, good health. This is what we all deserve, and I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this may inform your perception of trauma and the value of being able to heal our past experiences. I would love to hear if you have any questions from this, and if you're new to my channel, and you're somebody who wants to deepen into your truth and rise on purpose, I'd love to invite you to subscribe. Please give this a big like if it has been able to touch your heart, because imagine if all of us knew that there was a way to be able to reclaim the ability to perceive all that we have endured and remember the truth of who we are. Imagine how this beautiful world would be. I send my love and my blessings into you, hoping you have a wonderful weekend ahead.